Hello, welcome to Introduction to American and Nevada Politics. I don't think that's the official name of the course, but that's the essence of the course, right? We're talking about American politics and more specifically, Nevada politics throughout the semester. All right. Um, yeah, welcome. My name is Dr. Francis Joseph Carlton III. I'll be the instructor for this semester. I've been doing this for a while. Um, and yeah, so what I want to do here is welcome you to the course, the online version. And I want to go over the syllabus as part of the introduction material. And I want to talk more broadly about how to navigate the course as an online course, the best ways, pro tips, if you will, pro tips. All right. And as always, people, feel free to reach out to me. I'm pretty accessible. My email address is francis.carlton@csn.edu. I try to be responsive to student emails. You can set up an online meeting via Big Blue Button. You can come by my office during office hours. I'm here on the Charleston campus, the C building. Second floor, room 269 is a suite of offices. And I'm, I think, the letter F for Francis. All right. So that might be the first thing I note here substantively. When you check out that syllabus that I've posted, you'll see, where I'm at, what my office hours are, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 9 to 9:45 in the morning, and 1 to 2 in the afternoon. If you want to do an online meeting, just email me ahead of time. I'll set it up. I'll send the invite. We'll make it happen. And I'm certainly flexible beyond those days and times for sure. So don't feel like I'm somehow inaccessible. There's a lot of boilerplate on these syllabi. There's the description of the course, basically talking about American government and then Nevada politics, right? That's why this is a 4-credit course, by the way, right? 3 credits are the standard American politics, 1 credit for Nevada politics. And I do spend, a good amount of time talking specifically about Nevada politics. I try to make it proportional, right? So about 25% of the time, roughly, it would be Nevada politics. Yes. The purpose of the course, again, pretty boilerplate. There's some course objectives there for sure that we will accomplish along the way. Something that's not boilerplate, the text for the course is Open Educational Resource, OER. It is American Government 4E, available through openstacks.org. I provided you with a link there. I hope it's clickable. It's pretty easy to find. It's online. It's free. It's accessible. So that's what we're going to be using. You don't have to worry about that. There's no cost for you in terms of the textbook. We'll also be using some chapters from a book called The Sagebrush State, 7th edition, 2025, by Dr. Michael Bowers, RIP, out at UNLV, and David Damore, an esteemed colleague of mine out at UNLV. He has generated a revised and updated edition in 2025. So in some ways now it's Bowers and Damore, although Bowers is the originator of the text. It's at our library, our electronic library. I downloaded the relevant PDF chapters and I post them in the appropriate modules. So quick note on navigating the course online. Everything's on the home/modules page. The home page is the modules page. The home page is generally preferred as a way to access the course online. That's where you should be checking in multiple times a week to see what's happening. It's all centralized there on the home page. I've centralized it. All right. A lot of students follow what's called the syllabus tab that shows you upcoming due dates for assignments. That's fine because it gives you the heads up, but it doesn't show you the larger context of the course at all. Example. All right off the bat, you're going to have a current events quiz that you need to do in that first week. Because, we've been tasked by the college with rooting out ghost students who are committing fraud by enrolling, but they're not real students. They get their financial aid. They never show up. And then they usually, do their best to hold on to that financial aid beyond just the tuition and fees. And apparently you can make a profit that way. So I don't want to give you any bad ideas. And then it's very hard to track them down to get that money back from them. So we're tasked with rooting them out on the front end. So students who don't do the current events quiz in week 1 are marked as a ghost student, and you will be dropped. So that's an incentive right there to make sure you do that first assignment. Okay. So when you do that, right, it'll show up on the syllabus tab as current events quiz 1, due, X and such a date. And you'll go, dang, I see the quiz, but what's it based on? Is it based on chapter 1 from our online text? And I'll be like, no, it's not. And you know why you don't know that? Because you're only looking at the assignment on the syllabus tab. It only shows you the assignment. It doesn't show you the larger context of that module. Because on the home page, you'll see a module called Current Events Quiz 1. You'll see the assignment in that module right up top. But you'll also see the articles that it's based on. The articles that it's based on. 3 current events articles, either as a internet website or as a Word document. And that's what you need to be able to see. The context of the assignment, the 3 articles is based on. You're not going to ever find that on the syllabus tab, which does have a value and a use, but it's limited. So just to try to obviate any confusion, if you're only looking at the syllabus tab for assignment due dates, and that's all you're looking at, you're missing the entire course, which is on the home page. Everything's centralized there. The assignments are there, and they're there in the context of the material they're based on. Can't emphasize that enough. Okay. All right, enough of that. Again, an awful lot of this is boilerplate. Yep. All right, so grades. Let's get right down to the nitty as well as the gritty. There's 4 exams in here, count them 4, at roughly monthly intervals, right? Because we have about 15 weeks. 4 exams, that's roughly 1 exam every 4 weeks. I get them posted well ahead of time so you can see that due date coming up from about 2 weeks away. And that exam as an assignment will show up on the syllabus tab, but nothing else. But on the home page, you'll see the exam as an assignment, but you'll also see the study guides that will help you with those exams. All right. So 4 exams. At the end of the semester, those 4 exams together count for 60% of your grade in this course. So that's the bulk of your grade right there. The 4 examinations. Multiple choice, about 50 questions. Study guides based on the, we'll get to this in a minute, based on the narrated PowerPoint slides I've provided, based on our online textbook, based on the practice quizzes within each module. So there's lots of ways to prepare for these exams and do well. I drop your lowest one at the end of the semester. Okay, that's pretty generous. I drop your lowest exam score. Students handle that a couple different ways. Most students just take all 4 and let the chips fall where they may, drop my lowest one. Others may take the first 3, do extremely well on all 3. They don't really need to take the 4th exam. That's cool. That's a way to do it too. I see that pretty often. What's a bolder move, and I see it occasionally, is students will skip one of the first 3 exams, either because they just missed the deadline or they're confident, right? So they take 2 out of the first 3 exams, And then they know, right, they need to take that fourth exam because the one that will be dropped is the 0 for the one they didn't take. I don't highly recommend that, but it can work. No, it can definitely work. But you play that as you wish. All you need to know, right, are the rules of the game. I dropped of your 4 exams, I dropped the lowest one. That's 60% of your grade right there. All right. I also assign a current events quiz. 5 of those throughout the semester. 1 due the first week to test for ghost students. Those will be based on 3 current events articles that you'll see on the home page in a module called Current Events Quiz 1, Current Events Quiz 2, etc. 10 questions. I give you 20 minutes, plenty of time. I tend to recommend printing off the articles ahead of time because I'm old school. And then you can cross-reference them during the quiz. So it's a little bit of work. You can do a lot of good for yourself with these current events quizzes. Drop your lowest one at the end of the semester. At the end of the semester, I drop your lowest one. And that's 15% of your grade for the course. And again, handle that as you wish. See, a lot of students take the first 4. They do really well. They don't take the 5th. Most students take all 5, let the chips fall where they may, drop my lowest one, etc. So that gets us up to 65. I also have 8 to 10 discussion threads for you guys throughout the semester based on material that we're covering at that moment in time. For these, I'm looking for 2 things. Right, you read the prompt, and my prompts are ungodly long. I apologize for that. Read the prompt, respond to the prompt with 2 or 3 good paragraphs of thoughtful analysis. First person is fine with me. Build in your own life experiences, fine with me. Reference our book, bonus points. Reference material from my narrated slides, bonus points. But try to make a meaningful first post. And then you'll see everybody else's initial post. And then you'll choose one of those to respond to. And then you do 1 or 2 paragraphs on that response. Right, so for each discussion thread, I want 2 posts from each of you. Your own initial response to the prompt and a response to somebody else's response to the prompt. It's meant to capture, right, what it means to live in a democracy, that we have dialogue with one another over important public policy issues. And I try to be generous with my grading on these, except for this whole category of assignment, no AI at all, none. Not for grammar, not for structure, not for organization. I don't want any of that bullshit for the discussion threads. And I do check for posts that seem suspicious. And it's usually super easy to spot. It's not exactly rocket science. So when students do that, I will double and triple check it. If I deem it to be AI, and it's typically 100% AI, and it ain't even close because it jumps out at me just subjectively as a person, oh my God, there's no way. And then I run it through a detector that's quite reliable. According to their own data, only 1 out of every 10,000 times that it does analysis is it a false positive. Okay. Far more likely with this program, and I'm good with that, is false negatives, where it says, oh, this is not AI, when in fact it is. That's about 1 in 70 submissions. I can live with that. So if I dock it as AI, that's it. You just get a 0. You can reach out to me about it. I'm willing to talk to you about it. But I'm not likely to be very sympathetic, I'll be honest with you. So you'll take a 0 on that. And what I found is, initially, the first post or 2, a few students who use it, no matter what I say, they just take their 0s. It is what it is. But remember, a couple things here. I drop your 3 lowest discussion threads. So you can use AI once or twice. It's not going to get you anywhere, probably, but you can use it. Take your 0s. Those will be the ones that drop as your lowest ones. Because all I'm looking for, I'm begging for it, authentic responses, okay? that don't read like a senior scholar with a PhD from a prestigious research university with decades of experience in the field. That's what AI will provide. It's high quality stuff, although it's often boring and repetitive. If I see that, I'm going to be skeptical. I'm a damn good writer. Pat myself on the back here. I'm damn good. I have a PhD from a prestigious research university. I have decades of experience. If your writing is at my level or better, I'm really suspicious right off the top. I'd be like, come on, man. Come on, man. So those will be zeros, because the alternative is do it yourself. And I'm going to be super generous with my grading. Not going to lie here. I'm going to be super generous. If you use your own authentic voice, and if you make any kind of an effort, you're going to get all the damn points, right? So I try to make the choice for students super easy. Do it yourself. It's not a ton of work. Do it yourself. Get 100 points. Get all the points on that whole category of assignment, because it's worth 10% of your grade, which helps. Take the points, people. Take the damn points and don't use AI, because with AI, you're going down a dark path and it makes it easy for me to just give zeros. So don't make me do that. Use your own authentic. I want authentic voices, right? Because in a democracy, if you're talking with someone at a social gathering or at a family gathering, you don't use AI to talk to people. I hope. Please tell me you don't do that. You don't use AI to talk to people. So don't do it here, because that's what it's meant to mimic, is a conversation with your fellow Americans. All right. So, just be authentic. I want real people, real voices, real writing. And it might not be grammatically correct in all the cases, but you're not going to get punished for that. I mean, I might take some note of it when I grade it, but I'm probably going to still give you all the points, because I just want a good faith effort, man. That's all I'm asking for. That's all I'm asking for. All right. So that's the discussion threads. I dropped your 3 lowest, 10% of your grade. Be authentic. Have some integrity. I did find this past summer, the first 1 or 2, tons of AI. Students got punched in the nose, and then the writing got way more real going forward, and it was beautiful. And they got all the points. So you can learn the hard way, or you can learn the easy way. I'm not really anti-AI per se, but for this category of assignment, it's not appropriate. You're chatting with your fellow citizens. By the way, citizens, I mean, not all of you may be citizens. I have zero problem with that, obviously. And when I say American, we'll get to that soon enough. But, right, the founders in the preamble to the Constitution said, we the people, in order to form a more perfect union. So for myself, and this is just myself, when I say Americans, I mean people living, working, going to school in America, part of a family here. That to me, those are Americans. They may be a citizen, they may not. They may be here illegally, they may not be. They may have a green card, they may not. They may be here on a visa, they may have overstayed their visa. I'm like, you're here in America, that to me makes you American. It doesn't mean you're necessarily a citizen, but you're an American. In my own view, I take a broader view of we the people in order to form a more perfect union. Others take a narrower view, and that's cool too. We'll see that political science is a series of sort of arguments back and forth. And often, you're right, you don't get clear resolution. It's just an ongoing dialogue. And that's an example of that. All right. And then finally, this is running really long. I apologize. I talk a lot. I'm a professor. It's a risk of the profession. Short writing assignments. 2 of those. 2 of those, although I dropped your lowest one. So I'm going to be blunt here. The most common approach by far is students do the first one. They do really well. They don't do the second one. Some do really well in the first one, and they still do the second one. Great. Some don't do the first one, and then they do the second one. Some don't do either. I get the full range. All you need to know are the rules of the game. I drop your lowest one. So if you get 100 on the first one, you can definitely still do the second one, and I'll look at it. I'll grade it. but you don't need to, right? Once you get 100 on the first one, you've maxed out on your points. All right. I'll give you a prompt for those short writing assignments, 2 to 3 pages. It's very low key. I give you the material that I want you to use in that 2 to 3 page paper. I would not call it a research paper. I may ask you to comment on material in the text. I may post articles I want you to comment on to use in your analysis. I'm just looking for a good faith analysis of a relevant political issue. And you can use AI to a limited extent to brainstorm, to structure, to get some ideas, even some sources. Although I really provide you with the sources, you don't need to go beyond that. But you can use AI to a limited extent here. Just don't use it to write your paper. I want the final words to be authentic, you. All right? All right. Boilerplate, which some of this boilerplate may be super important to some students. I don't mean to disrespect that at all, but it's in all your syllabi. Check it out. Okay, I'll try to make this quick because I'm running on here. I'll try to keep these under 30 minutes. I'm at 21, so let's keep moving here. The course outline. It's about what you'd expect, I think. It's pretty standard stuff here. No shocks or surprises. We initially start talking about what does it mean to be a constitutional democracy? Because the United States is a constitutional democracy. Some say republic. That's the language that the founding fathers used. It's become a little dated, and the term is vague as hell. It doesn't really connote anything specific at all. Some people get sort of caught on that and obsessed with it. I think it's unfortunate. I don't think it's intellectually productive, but whatever. Tomato, tomato. I say constitutional democracy because that connotes something more specific. And it means the same thing that people mean when they say a republic. It means the same thing. It just tells us more. The label tells us more, right? We have the rule of law. We have a constitution. We have a Bill of Rights. We also have power to we the people through elections, right? Constitutional democracy, rule of law, Bill of Rights, fundamental rights and liberties, due process, limited government, checks and balances, a free market economy within limits, with a welfare and regulatory state, of course. But we also have democratic processes in place at the state, local, and federal levels. So I think constitutional democracy is way better than saying a republic. A republic, what does that denote? It can mean anything. It's an empty box. We'll also talk about what it means not to be a constitutional democracy, right? To not have the rule of law. To not have perhaps a free market economy, although it turns out undemocratic forms of governance can also have a free market economy. It's complicated. It means centralized power, not limited government, not fundamental rights and liberties to we the people, not due process of law for we the people. These are autocracies. Right? Where power is typically centered in a single strongman ruler who runs roughshod over we the people. Although that person is often very popular. Kind of makes one's head explode, but it's true. Autocrats with centralized, unbounded power, a lack of democracy, they're often quite popular, right? So there is an element of democracy even with autocracy. Vladimir Putin over in Russia, wildly popular. He's a murderous dictator, and he's wildly popular. What are you going to do, man? What are you going to do? It's complicated. So that's the alternative to constitutional democracy is autocracy, centralized power, typically by a charismatic strongman. And we'll talk about what's happening in the world today, right? Which is a global drift towards that form of governance. Remember, that's the primary form of governance throughout all of human history is autocracy. That's overwhelmingly the way that we, the people, have gone across the globe historically. right? Having constitutional democracy is relatively recent, and it's a little bit shaky right now across the globe, not just here in the U.S., but across the globe. So we'll talk about that. It's a rather compelling issue. And we'll also talk about other things like American political culture. And we'll talk about demographic factors, by the way, American demography. These are all the big picture issues that we talk about at the beginning, really big, big ideas, right? Demography, racial demography, age demography, physical geography. All those things are very relevant political factors in our politics, right? We have shifting racial demographics in America, right? And that raises interesting and important political issues. I was born into a world in which America was like 90% white. Today, it is now about 56% white. That's a big change. With a rapidly growing Latino population, an even more rapidly growing Asian American population, a significant black population. We've become a lot more racially diverse in recent decades, and that's generated really important political dynamics here in Nevada and elsewhere. We'll talk about that. America's changing age demographics, right? We're getting older as a society. That's putting tremendous pressure on programs like Social Security and Medicare. What do we do about that? Right? A declining birth rate, people are living longer, we're restricting immigration. Some think that this year, for the first year, our population is going to shrink. Some would say, good, we're going to shrink. We have too many people anyway. Okay, maybe. But the road to shrinkage is you end up with disproportionate number of really old people and a really small percentage of young people. And that becomes a problem. That becomes a tremendous problem. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the founding of the American Republic back in the day. We'll talk about the American Revolution, the creation of the U.S. Constitution. We'll talk about that governing document. We'll talk about the founding of the great state of Nevada, 1864. Nevada Day is coming up in October, right? We'll talk about American federalism, right? The division of power between national, state, and local governments, including, by the way, some interesting parts to that puzzle that make it more complicated than just that, although that alone is complicated. Well, we have Indian tribes. Where do they fit in? Where do our territories fit in, like Puerto Rico, for example? That's some of our colonial hangover from the Spanish-American War. We have some territories. Awkward. Where does that fit in? We'll talk about, as part of federalism, we'll talk about state and local politics right here in the great state of Nevada. We'll talk about civil liberties, all that good Bill of Rights stuff, things like free speech, freedom of and from religion, the right to keep and bear arms, the right to due process of law, the right to freedom from cruel and unusual punishments. What does that mean exactly? The right to freedom from unreasonable searches and seizures, on and on. That's great stuff. We'll talk about abortion rights and how that's sort of shifted over the decades. We'll talk about civil rights, right? In many ways, the story of America is the story of our evolving civil rights agenda, right? Where we start out at the beginning with a terrible civil rights agenda with things like slavery, genocidal campaigns against indigenous people, poor treatment of women, poor treatment of Chinese immigrants, poor treatment of Jewish people, Irish immigrants, Italian immigrants. The list goes on and on and on. How have we addressed those issues over time? Positive is, over time, we've made tremendous progress. But you can also go backwards on civil rights. And, we'll take that into account as well. We'll talk about the politics of the U.S. Congress, that institution that we love to hate. We'll talk about the politics of the Nevada legislature. We'll talk about the politics of the American presidency, the politics of the federal bureaucracy, what some call the deep state. In political science, we call it the federal bureaucracy, which I know sounds way more boring. Sorry. We'll talk about the politics of the Nevada executive branch. the politics of the federal courts, the politics of Nevada courts, the politics of public opinion, the politics of voting in elections. We have an election coming up in November, people. If you're not registered, get registered ASAP. It's not that hard. Elections are important for maintaining the quality of a democracy. The politics of the media. That's a juicy subject. The politics of our political parties. Another institution that we love to hate. These days, we generally hate institutions, don't we? Institutions are under fire these days from all sides. And then the politics of interest groups. All right, so that's the syllabus. Check it out. I've talked a bit about navigating the course. So everything is on the home/modules page. The syllabus tab is useful, but it's not a substitute for the home/modules page. Check in on that home modules page multiple times a week to keep up with what's happening. Please, I beg you, reach out to me through my email address or through arranging a meeting on Big Blue Button remotely, or come by my office. I'm trying to think what else I might want to say about navigating the course online. I tried to make it pretty basic and pretty user-friendly. If any links aren't working, let me know. So let me say this before I sign off finally. Sorry. So what you're going to see initially is a module called something like Syllabus and Intro Video. All right, that'll be prominent at the beginning because it's a way to introduce myself to you. But then as we start to get into the course, that'll come down the queue because it's no longer quite as burningly relevant. So the queue will change over time. Whatever is most relevant will be at the top. Whatever is least relevant will be towards the bottom. So you'll see that shifting over time. The textbook module right now is at the top or near the top. Over time, that'll drift down. The first substantive module, I believe I've already posted. So check that out. Each substantive module, which basically tracks the chapters in our textbook, our online textbook that's free, OER. So module 1 tracks chapter 1 in our book. It'll be structured in this way. A broad introductory video from yours truly, that's about 15 minutes, gives you an overview of the module. And then below that, you're going to see PowerPoint slides that are narrated. For each section of slides, you're going to see 2 versions. The PowerPoint slides themselves for those who want full PowerPoint functionality, and then the YouTube video version of those slides. No functionality in terms of clickability, but it's more convenient. So for each chunk, so let's say there's a chunk on American demography, right? You'll see PowerPoint slides that are narrated on American demography, and then you'll see a YouTube version of those slides. You can use either one. I think most students probably look at the video. I get it. It uses less memory. It's more convenient, easier to access. It makes a lot of sense. If there are clickable links in the PowerPoint slides, they obviously won't be clickable on the video, but So that's what you'll see consistently. You'll see a chunk of material on this topic within that module, 2 versions. Another chunk of material, 2 versions. Another chunk of material, 2 versions. So you'll see that each time. And then towards the bottom, there's going to be maybe like a link that I think is useful, an internet link, a website. And then typically at the very bottom, there's going to be a practice quiz. Those practice quizzes are super helpful for preparing for the exams. So I strongly recommend the practice quizzes for preparing for the exams. The quizzes do close just before the exam opens, so you got to do them sooner rather than later. But I recommend those practice quizzes. Yeah. So each substantive module will look like that. Module 1, Chapter 1, intro video, PowerPoint slides, YouTube version, PowerPoint slides, YouTube version, maybe an ancillary website, something, maybe an ancillary video, a documentary maybe, and then a practice quiz. Each one will look about the same. All right. And, once we're done with exam one, all the modules that were included exam one will drop to the bottom of the queue, and then the fresh modules will be towards the top again. So I'm trying to make it easy for you to navigate. All right. So 35 minutes, good Lord. I apologize. Okay. So that covers both the syllabus, but also how to best navigate the course online. Francis Carlton, I'm pretty accessible. Reach out with any questions you might have. Oh, yeah, and by the way, before I sign off, is there anything that's not working? Let me know. Maybe an expired link. Maybe I mounted the wrong set of slides or something. That's happened in the past. Things can happen because, the organization gets a little complicated on my side. Sometimes I mislabel things. That can definitely happen. When that happens, please reach out and let me know. That's how I get better. All right. Lifelong learner here. All right. Thanks all. Again, welcome.